You ever talk to a guy in the gym and you're thinking the whole time, okay, this guy really needs to superset some temporal lobe extensions with some frontal lobe curls. Oh boy, I'm ready for the hate comments on this one. Yes, if you take someone who's, untrained and he gets into bodybuilding, it won't make him less smart. But if you take someone who maybe did like a varied training program with some sports, some aerobic stuff, all sorts of the spectrum, and then he focuses exclusively on bodybuilding, there is actually evidence to prove that he might be leaving a lot on the table as far as cognition goes. Like, there aren't hard and fast rules here. There are, say, runners who are intellectually impaired, like myself, and there are with bodybuilders. There's also smart ones. To say, like, there's a lot of certainty here, I'd just be, lacking integrity if I said that. But there's actually a lot of interesting evidence here that, say, a varied program with, maybe some weightlifting, but maybe some running, maybe some sprinting, can actually improve cognition significantly. And this kind of plays in favor of kind of like the uprising of the hybrid athlete trend, which in practice I think is pretty cool. It's just a name that annoys me. Like, does anyone not find that so pretentious? Like, oh yes, I'm a hybrid. But anyway, I think it's pretty cool when people just, maybe target all the pillars of fitness. It's like, this guy can run a marathon, he can run pretty fast, he's strong as hell, he can do the splits, and he can swim. And he can kick you in the face. Like, who is this guy? So the first point here is blood lactate, and if you've ever felt like a big rush of lactic acid, if maybe you have run in a few track races before, like maybe a 200 or 4 or an 800, that whole body burn of pain, like, you don't necessarily have to go that far, but basically lactate, we thought it was glucose, just base sugar that was feeding our brain, but for a lot of brain cells, including the astrocytes, which support neurons, they actually run off lactate, and we make lactate in like hard anaerobic exercise. Anaerobic meaning it's too vigorous to where we're in like oxygen debt, so we're trying to source energy from glucose without actually using oxygen, and this forms lactate. Now, weightlifting is technically anaerobic, but you're not going to get like a full body lactic rush as you would, say, doing a long sprint or calling out fake natties. And although our brain will take up sugar and make lactate itself, producing some from exercise will also pass the blood-brain barrier and feed those astrocytes and keep the neurons healthy. And this can also have a lot as far as, both cognition and neuroprotection. There's a lot of studies here, a lot of them are rats, but it is pretty convincing. There's a lot of evidence for neuroinflammation, and I talk about inflammation a lot on this channel. It just helps you think a lot better, and neuroprotection, of course, both with protecting your neurons from, any inflammatory damage, as well as just aging processes later on, it comes in handy. It's a little bit counterintuitive, because when I used to train for 400s, which is a lot of building lactic tolerance, you're eating lactic multiple times a week, it does kind of sap your mental clarity momentarily. Like, I'd have to wait before I drive home, because I felt like, honestly, a little bit comparable to being drunk, so I don't want to do that. It's hard to say whether or not that much is actually going to be helpful. I don't know if it is, but certainly tackling some lactic, because you're not going to build up enough during like a weight session. Even if you do like a heavy AMRAP on squat, it's really not comparable to if you did like a flat out 200 meters. Now, there is a big injury risk if you just throw yourself into sprinting, which is not something I recommend, but maybe if there's like an assault bike in the gym you go to, you can just throw that in for a bit at the end of your session, maybe just do like a few intervals of a minute. It's pretty easy to hit lactic, you just gotta push it a bit. And then stop maybe like, 10 seconds into that burn. Because I don't want to dissuade people from, doing weightlifting if that's what you really enjoy, but if you can throw that in the end of your session, improve cognition, and it's not going to take away from your progress as far as regular gym stuff, right? The other side of anaerobic is aerobic, and this is something a lot of sports miss out on. Even my sport with long jump, I'm not doing longer stuff. If you're doing weightlifting, you're definitely not either. And of course, we all know things like heart health is a big hitter here, but I'm not going to go into that. Everyone knows that. Cognition too, though, and that's why we're here. So managing inflammation and better sleep and insulin sensitivity. These are very evident here, but they're also quite evident in most forms of exercise. So again, like, why aerobic? For one, if we look at the study here, they did a few things as far as 20 and 40-minute aerobic exercise, both at moderate and vigorous, and all 4 groups had a significant raise in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, and this is responsible for making new neurons, so it's very potent for cognition in general. This is why I eat turmeric every day, because it does the same thing. And if you want to take from the study even more, the base group had vigorous exercise for 40 minutes. This improved BDNF by the most, but you can also reap pretty good benefits just from like moderate at about 20 minutes. So just like an easy jog, or maybe like walking on an incline if you just want to do that in the gym. Maybe you could do that on alternate days with the assault bike. It's not gonna kill your gains, dude. It's not. Stop. Also, when we run, our blood vessels dilate to improve oxygen transport, and this is true for the brain as well. This is actually pretty cool because over time, adaptation in the long run, we're actually going to grow new blood vessels to improve that cerebral blood flow, which can be quite potent as far as cognition goes. It also improves brain-derived neurotropic factor, trying to force all this blood up there as well. So yeah, aerobic stuff also very, very potent as anaerobic stuff. So if you can fit those two in like just a few times a week, I think you're probably going to see a little bit of a rise as far as cognition goes, which is very important. And my third point here is juice. Okay, yes, I know not every bodybuilder is on juice, but comparatively there are a lot of people that are on juice doing bodybuilding, even though they don't compete, which is a bit strange to me. I wanted to do a bit of research here because I find it kind of interesting. Everyone talks about other side effects, but cognition, you know, I love it. I talk about a lot on this channel, and you know, let's talk about juice. If you're enjoying, please be sure to drop a like and consider subscribing. It's free, helps me out, and I'd love to have you on board. So roid rage and aggression, you know, they are stereotypes, but there is also a lot of anecdotal backing, and as well, if you look at this meta-analysis, it's just a fountain of studies, which some of them talk on aggression, some of them talk on, you know, other things. As far as cognition goes, there is actually quite strong evidence as far as working memory goes, and some of the other markers they found quite significantly were, you know, working memory, which is just very important for doing pretty much any type of cognitive work, as well as brain blood flow issues. That was more speculatory, but there was some evidence, and of course we can alleviate that with more aerobic stuff. But I think one of the most inhibitory things with cognition here is just the emotionality and irrationality that people run into on certain compounds. Like, think about the last time you were absolutely furious. How hard is it to do anything, any cognitive-based task? Like, maybe you can do something physical, maybe it'll turbocharge that, but as far as thinking, you're not doing it properly. And lastly, I don't see how an outrageous libido doesn't become distracting. I'm not going to explain why, but come on. But anyway, those are my 3 points. I think if you are deep into bodybuilding, I think if you just throw in some anaerobic and some aerobic stuff on top of your regular training, it's not going to harm your regular training, okay? But it's going to improve cognition, which just helps with everything. I think even training, it helps if you're just clear-headed and thinking a bit sharper. You can make adjustments, plan things out better, all of the above, as well as just your professional life or your university life. Who doesn't want to be a bit smarter, you know, and just think a bit sharper? Okay, I'm going to leave it there, but let me know what you thought about this video. If you have anything to add, leave it down below. Here are some videos you might enjoy. I'll see you next time.